Hello, Arkansas, and welcome to this week's edition of Arkansas Money Talk, brought to you by the team of Retire Path Wealth. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and I'm joined in the studio by the president of Wealth Management, Dale Colclasure, and co-founder, Mark Smalling. We're so glad you're joining us today. We are going to have an important conversation on the hidden tax you cannot ignore. You're going to want to stay with us to find out what that is and what steps you can take even now to help protect yourself. Dale, Mark, so good to be here with both of you. How are you this week?
Oh, we're doing great.
Excellent day.
Well, good. Well, I know we need to talk about something that, we've talked about in previous shows, but it's still very much a reality, and that is the problem of inflation. And, we are calling the show Inflation Unmasked, the hidden tax you can't ignore. The reality is it's been on the top of most folks' minds over the last several years, and it hasn't gone away. It might be less than what it was, but it doesn't negate what has already happened. And this can have a direct negative impact on your financial plan and your future, especially as you are approaching and entering retirement. So we need to talk all about it. And I'm curious, when folks come in to meet with you all for the first time, how often is inflation coming up as a key concern?
Kristen's a great question, because the reality is in most cases, it's under-discussed.
Right.
Okay? Most people don't really think about it, because traditional math when it comes to retirement is, hey, I have this pot of money and let's just make up a number and let's call it $500,000.
Okay.
And I know if I've got 4%, that's $20,000 a year. And that's the traditional math that people think about, is what can I generate off of this nest egg that I've built? And then we try to pivot that conversation to, hey, retirement income planning is all about cash flow. It's all about how much income can I generate, and then how do I increase that cash flow each and every single year? Because again, we want to start even those calculations today, even if I'm not going to retire till 10 years from now, because we know what we spend today. I'm not going to spend, if I need $50,000, I don't need to start that number 10 years from now. I need to start that calculation today.
Right.
And so inflation is a huge piece that I believe is underconsidered. And as you mentioned before, hey, inflation has been a bigger issue a couple of years ago, but the reality is inflation's always there.
Yes.
And if I'm going to be in retirement for 20, 25, 30 years, just a simple 3% historical inflation means by the end of my retirement scenario, I'm going to be spending twice as much as I spend when I start.
Yes, to buy the same amount of goods and services that you're buying today.
Yep,
And
just
that's
under
the key.
just under a reasonable scenario.
Right.
And
Go
a lot
ahead.
of people try to do simple math when it comes to that. I've got this lump sum, it's going to last me so many years without ever taking that into consideration.
Yes, and
And
that's
it's not simple math, it's algebra. And
Yeah, and it has to be accounted for. And a lot of financial advisors out there don't even talk about inflation, which is mind-blowing when you think about it. But again, because you guys are retirement income planners, this is what you do, is you build income plans for folks. It has to be talked about, it has to be addressed. You mentioned that long-term historical rate of 3% per year. I think that's why folks were kind of lulled to sleep and weren't really thinking about it. But just in the last 4 years alone, we need to look at some of these numbers and averages, because that really does put the problem of inflation into perspective. So Mark, I know you have some that you're going to share with us.
Right. I mean, groceries alone are up over 20%, not to mention eggs, which I know eggs have been, in the press a lot. There's been a lot of focus on eggs. We've had airline tickets, and for folks that are getting ready to retire and they're wanting to travel, those are things that need to be considered. And then something we hear about almost on a daily basis is property and casualty insurance. Homeowners and car insurance is up, over 50% over many years, and especially here in Arkansas, where we've had some big storms and some big losses. We've had, some carriers actually pulling out of the state, so it's created a lot of issues. But once those, you were mentioning earlier, once prices go up, they don't come back down.
Right.
They don't correct or, settle back down. They just keep going up from that. Maybe, as you said, not as much as what they were going up, but they're still going up.
Well, and we were talking before the show, and I know I mentioned this on a previous episode and it made you guys laugh, but I was using the analogy of, let's say I gained 100 pounds one year, right? But then the next year I only gained 50 pounds, and I'm like, yay me, I only gained 50 pounds this year. Well, that doesn't negate the 100 pounds I've already gained, and now I'm adding 50 to that. The same thing is true with inflation, and I think that's what folks don't understand. And on top of it, we've had this double whammy, because since 2020, 2021, prices have gone up as a whole over 20%, but the real average weekly wages are down almost 4%. Right. And again, you mentioned this long-term historical rate of 3% per year. I think it's important to re-presence this. It takes roughly 22 years for the amount of income you need to double at that historical rate of 3%. But with inflation being higher over the last few years, and now we're living longer than we ever have before, I mean, let's talk about that, because conceivably your cost of living could double 2 or 3 times throughout your retirement.
Right, and that's not a reach. I mean, we expect them to be at least twice, possibly 3 times more than where you started. And I love the analogy you used earlier of your traditional, quote, financial advisor, because in so many cases, when people have gone through the retirement planning process so far, most of the time they're working with an investment broker, someone who really is only focusing on assets and how to make those allocations. And they're really not talking and focusing that much on the effect of inflation. They're talking about it, hey, this is why you got to stay in the market because you got to have additional growth, but there's really not a plan in place for how that income gets derived.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons that we always focus on the written income plan process to where we're literally looking out 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now as to what my current income goal, what's that going to look like? How am I going to access those dollars? When does it smart to start my Social Security? When does it start to add in the pension? When do I begin to make withdrawals? Does Roth conversion make sense for me in these cases? Because again, these all may be very smart strategies to consider, but what effect do they have this year on your plan 10, 20, 30 years from now? And so the reality of it is if you're sitting out there today and you felt the effect of taxes over time and you're considering, gosh, how am I going to be able to make these assets live? Because it's a question we get all the time. I really don't think I'm ever going to be able to retire, but gosh, can you show me how it works? It's amazing many times when we literally put the numbers and the pencil to the paper and make that consideration, how easy it can be not only to develop a income plan that lasts, but one that also has the ability to continue to grow. So I'm going to encourage everybody out there today to reach out to us, to give us a call, scan the barcode, whatever it is you need to do to get a hold of us. So we can get your data in, get a written income plan built for you so you can see what value we can add to your situation.
And I see this sitting right here. I don't think we highlight this enough. I know we often have it on set, but why don't you just walk folks through exactly what they're going to receive as part of that written income plan?
Yeah, so the written income plan, we're going to walk through, we're going to gather your data, you're going to sit down and visit with Mark, find out what it is you need all that information to do for, or these assets that you've accumulated to do for you. I mean, we're literally going to have a page in here that talks about all the sources of income, going to break it down on an annual basis. I know you probably can't see that real well, but the beauty is when you come in, we're going to have a step-by-step written plan to show you what each year looks like. Now, again, just like any other plan, we're going to literally be almost out of date from the time that we give it to you, which again, is why we're going to meet back at least on an annual basis to update that written income plan. Because as we all know, the one constant in life is change. And so as things change, we're going to have to be able to mend with that. But if I always have a source to reach back to go to say, here, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing to get me where I'm looking to go, I always have a reference spot.
Wonderful. Well, Dale, Mark, thank you so much. I know we've got a lot more to get into on today's episode, but if this is resonating with you, or maybe you're working with another financial advisor, but they are not having this kind of conversation with you, and you are unsure of where your income is going to come from in retirement specifically and how it's going to grow to keep up with inflation, this is why the team of Retire Path Wealth would love to be able to meet with you and provide that second opinion and offer you this complimentary written income plan. But you have to reach out. So we encourage you to connect. You can either call 866-724-3893, or if you'd rather connect online, simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more right after this.
We take the planning seriously. We run all the numbers, gather all the information.
I mean, I've heard of firms calling 70% outcome, goal achievement. Hey, we're there. Well, when I went to school, a 70 was a C-. That's not how I want to walk into retirement.
Everything we do from a planning perspective at Retire Path, we take the fiduciary responsibility, not just with the finances, but with everything, trying to put you in the best place possible for yourself. A successful retirement to me is not having worries about where dollars are coming from or about your health coverage.
Tax code's going to change. Medicare is going to change. Social Security, it's going to change, folks. You want somebody that's going to understand how those changes affect everything else as you move along. That may be great general advice, but it has nothing to do with your personal situation.
I mean, to literally see people come in the office that are scared and there's a lot of trepidation, and having them leave with that weight lifted off of their shoulders.
Let's get your data in, allow us to analyze your situation, and see if we can be a valuable partner in your financial life.
Making sure that everyone that comes in to our office leaves feeling like they've received something of value from us. RetirePath is a unique place because we built it from scratch.
Welcome back, Arkansas. You're watching Arkansas Money Talk, brought to you by the team of RetirePath Wealth. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with both Dale and Mark, and a very important conversation we are having today all about inflation. We know that inflation has been on the top of most folks' minds over the last 4 years as we have watched prices soar. We shared in the last segment, as a whole, prices have gone up over 20%. And it's been interesting because inflation, it's been said that it's not an equal opportunity offender. So that's what I want to ask you guys about next. So when we say that statement, what does that actually mean? How do you interpret that?
Well, Kristen, that's a great question because people think, they don't, when inflation hits, it doesn't hit people with averages. We talk about all these averages and all these numbers and everything. They hit people in areas where they're spending money, especially in retirement. I mean, when you're retired and what you want to do is you want to travel. And, so hotels are up and airplane tickets are up and eating out is up. The things that you want to do in retirement, all of those, and depending on how much you do, those averages could be out the door. You could be, depending on what's actually affecting your life and what you spend money on, it could be far more than what the averages, are. And that can have a great impact on what people can do in retirement. And here, if you've had all these goals and aspirations about what you actually want to do in retirement, and then all of a sudden it costs that much more and you don't have the funds to actually fund that anymore because of inflation, I mean, that can be detrimental to someone's retirement plans.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Mark's main point is we talk about them in percentages, but for the people out there watching today, these are real dollars.
Yes, yes. It's so true. And to your point, it's a double whammy. When you're retired, you're on a fixed income. Now the things that you want to spend your hard-earned money doing have gone up significantly in comparison to other prices, right? Specifically travel, like you were mentioning. And I think it's so fascinating that a lot of times when folks are dealing with the financial services industry, it's only covering their investments, right? An investment strategy. It's not talking about how do we have a plan for income that's going to help combat inflation and continue to grow over the course of the rest of your life so that you don't run the risk of outliving your money. And I know we talked earlier in the segment about the written income plan you build for folks. Can you share with our viewers in a little more depth how you account for inflation in the plans that you build?
Yeah, right off the bat. I mean, and the idea is we're going to start inflation calculations for our accumulation from the very, very beginning. But that's only a piece of it. We're going to go and basically help them try to figure out what their needs are, because that's one of the biggest challenges for most folks, because literally as you're living life on a daily basis, you're not thinking about, oh gosh, I have this budget that I have to live within, and now all of a sudden necessarily I have these changes, because for so many folks we have 2 paychecks that come in on a month. And if there's 2 of us in the household, we got 4 paychecks coming in. And we figured out, all right, I pay the mortgage and X, Y, and Z with this one, and I pay A, B, and C with this option. Is one of the first questions that we ask is, what do you need in retirement? And most people are like, I really don't know. And so we have to help them walk through that process to figure out what that net number is.
Right.
And the real is, because that's what you're spending. Let us do the hard work with figuring out the taxes and the inflation that come along with that, and then just help show that what that looks like over time. But we want to be very conservative in those calculations, because the reality is one big thing that occurs the moment you retire is you don't go to work anymore. You got 40 additional hours to go out and live life and probably spend more money.
Well, because every day is a Saturday, right?
That's right.
I've heard
Exactly
it said
right.
that way too, and that's the
right.
reality. Yeah.
So we've got to be conservative in those numbers. So we're always going to add a little extra to that calculation anyway to help offset that balance for what may happen. Because the other thing that I know is we don't spend consistently on a monthly basis when we're retired either. Because I'm not going to travel every single month. Maybe
Right.
I'm going to take a trip a couple of times a year. And how do I account for that? You know, if I'm paying my property taxes or my real estate insurance, you know, as Mark's talked about, this becomes so exorbitantly expensive. I don't have a choice to opt out of that. And a lot of those payments may only get made once a year. So helping them just kind of figure out how that budget and how the cash flow needs to work every single year, and then updating that on a regular basis with what it needs to increase for the next year.
Right. Yes. And again, that's what's interesting is it's figuring out how much income you need. It's figuring out how that income can grow. But I do know that also one of the most fun parts of your job is helping folks figure out how to achieve the things that they want to do, right?
right.
This
Oh,
is
absolutely.
like, okay, so when people come in and they meet with you and they say, okay, these are my dreams, these are my goals, this is the bucket list trip, that has to be so much fun when you can put together a written plan to show them, okay, if that's what you want to do, here's how we can make this happen.
I mean, it is one of the joys of what we do is we do get to help people fulfill their dreams in retirement. And you know, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a couple come in and the husband kind of thought they were in a pretty good position and the wife wasn't sure. And so it was really, so we were on our second meeting when we were actually presenting everything to it. And when it actually clicked with the wife that, hey, okay, he's right. We're okay. We're going to be able and to see that burden,
That
kind
relief,
of
right?
relief
Yeah.
that, hey, things are going to be okay. I'm going to, you know, and if something happens to him, I'm going to be okay. It's, you know, we really, especially when we're talking to couples, we really make sure that we involve both of them because sometimes one makes more of the financial decisions than the other, but it doesn't matter. Each of you need to know, you know, why we're doing what we're doing,
Yes.
and you know how the plan's laid out and how it's supposed to work.
Well, and many times that one that's making most of the financial decisions during life maybe the one that's going to leave this life the first. And so many times that other spouse is dependent on them, but we want to make sure that they do have at least a solid understanding of what we're trying to accomplish here, so that if and when they have to make those decisions on their own, they're prepared to be able to do that. Not only that, I know that other spouse oftentimes wants to know that there's somebody that's going to be there when that other spouse needs the help, that's not going to take advantage of them. Not only just that, but they're going to be there to help them through all of those decisions that they've got to make.
For sure. And how important it is to have that plan in place before that day comes, so that they know who to call, they know who they can trust, and who can hold their hand and walk them through that. Because when you're grieving, that's not the time on top of everything else. You want to hope and wonder if whatever plan might have been there or may not have been there is actually going to work. You want to have the confidence of knowing that. And I think too, a lot of our viewers watching are do-it-yourself investors, right? And I know you meet with a lot of people who have been do-it-yourself investors. And the reality is that is a little bit easier to do during the accumulation phase when you are working and you're saving and you're putting money away. But there's a different set of skills that's required, a different knowledge base when it comes time to move from that accumulation phase to the distribution phase. And so if somebody's watching out there and they're going, yeah, you know, it might be time to think about turning over the reins, to look at all these aspects. And I know we're focusing a lot on inflation today, but specifically how to generate income, how to make sure all my bases are covered, and to make sure I can still achieve my dreams. What would you say to someone who has been that do-it-yourselfer up until this point?
No, what I would say is there's a whole lot more to this than we possibly are considering. Again, we harp all the time on the aspect that most retirement planning is simply done by asset allocation, and the focus is on the investment world. The reality is that most people don't really understand how taxes work. We don't know how to offset for inflation. We sure don't know how Social Security can be differential in many different positions. The changes with Medicare and a lot of those other things that come in, I know that we're really not focusing on today, but that do-it-yourselfer aspect. And here's what I would encourage you here also today. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, you want to maintain control of certain pieces, maybe it makes sense to have a conversation about everything else that goes with it. No, we are not restrictive into certain scenarios where we're like, hey, you've got to do everything here with us for us to help make sense in your case. We do have a lot of folks that want to maintain control of certain situations. So if you're out there today and you think you've got one piece of it under control but don't understand exactly how everything else works, I'm going to encourage you to give us a call and check us out to see where we can add to that. Give us a call, give us a chance to visit with you to help fill in maybe some of those other gaps that are out there, and then maybe able to add some other value to some of these situations that maybe you haven't considered.
Wonderful. Dale, Mark, thank you. Very well said. To our viewers at home, that number to call to schedule your time to come in and receive your very own complimentary written income plan from the team of Retire Path Wealth is there on the bottom of your screen. 866-724-3893 is the number to call. Or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. When we come back, it's been said that inflation is the hidden tax and taxes are the hidden inflation. You're not going to want to miss what Dale and Mark have to say about that and how you can safeguard yourself against both right after this.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. Hey, birthday party for Carol and 5. Happy birthday to you.
Good morning, Ben. Happy Monday.
Daryl's birthday, be there or be square. Happy birthday to you. You can see from our quarterly report on slide number 62, we're trending in the right direction. All signs point to a very positive outlook for the next several years. If you peel back the onion,
Ben? Ben? Do you have anything to add?
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Arkansas Money Talk, where today we've been doing a deep dive on the problem of inflation and how to be prepared for it, especially throughout your retirement so that you don't run the risk of outliving your money. Here's the reality though, we not only have to deal with inflation, but that problem is compounded by taxes. And as I said before the break, it's been said that inflation is the hidden tax and taxes are hidden inflation. Can you explain and shed some light on what that statement actually means?
Yeah, Kristen, it's kind of the thought of, you know, that time when you go to the grocery store and you pick up the same stuff that you got last time and you realize, wait a minute, that's like $20 more than I spent last month. And the reality is that as these prices increase, all of our taxes we pay are based on sales tax. So as that price increases, the taxes increase along with that just inherently.
Yes. Yep.
Or I'm sitting down at the restaurant and I look at the menu and it's like, okay, that item that was $15 last week is now $17 on this new price menu. It just is there. I don't recognize it as I go along, and then bam, I've all of a sudden got to pay it.
Exactly. So what's the solution? I mean, how do you help folks safeguard themselves from these rising input costs?
Well, I mean, what happens is you see, all these prices start going up, and Dale was mentioning restaurants, and it's something I said to my wife last week when we were at, I was like, I remember it seems like last year that dish was $5 less than it is today. So they raise prices. Now at the grocery store, it's a whole other thing. There's this thing called shrinkflation.
Yes.
That we've all experienced, where you go, that looks like the same bag or package I used to buy. It's the same price, but there's a few less ounces in it than what there was before. So that's another way that they just kind of sneak that stuff in, on you. And it's become very prevalent.
Yeah, for sure. And then taxes compound it, which
And
we
then
have
taxes,
to talk about
yeah.
it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you guys do engage in strategic tax planning, and we have an awesome site we're going to put here for you on the bottom of the screen that we encourage you to visit completely free. There it is, retirepathtaxtest.com. You can scan that QR code. Explain to folks what they're going to glean from going to this and how it can help prepare them to navigate this tax problem successfully.
Yeah, the reality is I've got this so-called nest egg sitting out there that I think that I have 100% access to, that I can go and reach out and get to anytime I want to. But the reality of is if that account ends in IRA or 401k, there's always a partner with it. So what we want you to do is to realize what the effect of that partner is going to have every time you reach into that account and take it out. And if I have a plan in place to be able to access those dollars and I'm doing that proactively on an intelligent, efficient manner, I can reduce the effect that the taxes are going to have when I make those withdrawals from the account itself. The idea here is folks, we want you to get access to as much of your own money as we possibly can. And if we do that in an intuitive, responsible manner, we're going to be able to keep more of our own money. Whereas if I just simply allow life to happen to me and then I've got to go and draw into it at uncertain times, that I'm probably going to have a more negative effect on those withdrawals as I access them.
Right, and awareness is the first step. And we just want to share real quick one graphic with you. This is a screenshot of the report that you will receive when you visit retirepathtaxtest.com. Well, that's the landing page. You'll put in some information. After that, you will get to see side by side the difference between the government's tax plan for you there on the left versus how much less you could pay in tax there on the right-hand side. Again, this is one screenshot of that 4-page report that you'll receive, completely complimentary, with the breakdown of your numbers. And I know that you have had folks after the show has aired, they've gone to the site, they've gotten that report, they are blowing up your phones going, please help me. How do I make sure I pay less to the IRS, right?
Yeah, I think that the realization of the numbers is phenomenal because as you'll notice back on that chart, there's more taxes paid than the account even started with.
Right.
Because it's not a one-time deal. I mean,
Yes.
Kristen, we've talked about this. Retirement can be 30, 35 years.
Yep.
That tax is happening every single year.
Yes.
And then
And it compounds,
it
right?
compounds. Not only does it compound, it then also passes to the next generation. And so not only is this an issue that we need to deal with, but it's an aspect that our children are going to have to deal with.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, we're not tax planning so that we pay the taxes so the kids don't have to. But the reality is this is your money. Our assumption is no matter who's spending it, you want to be efficient with how you're spending it.
Exactly, in the most tax efficient manner possible.
That's
right?
exactly right.
Well, wow, we've covered a lot of ground today. Mark, Dale, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
To our viewers at home, again, you don't have to go it alone. We know that a lot of this might be new to you. It's not new to the team of Retire Path Wealth, and they are here to help and serve you. You can connect by calling 866-724-3893 to claim your complimentary written income plan, or you're welcome to scan that QR code, and that will get you connected as well. Thanks so much for watching. We love you, Arkansas. We'll see you next time here on Arkansas Money Talk.